Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to share the video with the topic on to know others is to know oneself. As some people know, I shared several times that the reason for me for joining Cash Foundation, for finding the technology and the science is through wanting to know the nature of my existence and why am I here. When I was looking for that answer, I bumped into Cash Plasma Science and Technology, along with inner engineering, or just basically yoga from Sadhguru Marine Cash. And Sadhguru offer the same answer, but a different perspective from different angle. In order to understand yourself, you have to understand other people. You need a comparison. That's why we have duality and polarity in this, our universal time matrix, so that we can compare, we can experience the different polarity to know, to have a variety, what you call in Cash Plasma Science, we call radiant. Radiant, how radiant creates that diversity in life experience and everything that we have around us. In order to understand it at a different level, I think we experienced that a lot before when we, especially in Christianity, you have God create man in his image. Why? Just ask the question I had earlier with, why am I here? What is the nature of my existence? God or source created everything to know himself or itself. God created unlimited scenarios, circumstances, unlimited things, so that he can explore, so that he can know more about himself through that experience. Just as me in myself trying to find out who I am, first I must know my universe, the people around me, so that I can compare and to know myself. I cannot know myself. How am I different without having something to compare? So in understanding other people, I understand more about myself. In understanding about the environment and the universe, I understand about my origin, the nature of my existence, and why am I here? Through observation, through comparison, not to judge, but to analyze and to compare and to know. And that is the gist of this video, is that to know others is to know oneself. To get that answer of what we are looking for. It's not that hard. It is a journey of self-exploration, because a lot of things that we might take for granted, because the way we see the universe is through our own eyes, through our own interpretation. What we interpret, what we see, does not mean the other person interpret the same thing. So our experience of the universe, of the reality around us, is very unique according to our perception, understanding, and awareness level. To know how we are different, to know our uniqueness, is to know the average or the common characteristic of other people that surround us, not just within our local circle, but throughout the globe, throughout the planet, throughout the world. For example, a lot of things when we grow up, we might take for granted that's just a normal thing, because it is a normal characteristic. Just like when you look outside, you know it's day or it's night. It's very normal, it's natural, it's a part of who you are. But you will not know that it's different, that what you are doing is different, or what you call your ability, your talent, your skill set, or what you want to call it, can be different, because you may make like I made an assumption when I grew up. I'm not being more generic anymore. So let's use me an example. A lot of things what I assume was normal, it turns out not so normal for other people. For example, I was always having a problem of, why do people lie? It is so obvious that they are lying, but why do they waste so much time to justify and to explain and think that they can deceive other people. It took me a very long time to realize that the consciousness and awareness of people are not the same. Their perception is not the same, meaning they're unaware of what's around them, themselves. They have the singularity of focus. When you're able to step into the observer perspective and see things from a totality, from big picture, to able to analyze yourself, your emotion, your thoughts, and all those things around you, you're able to have a clear vision, a bigger scope of things. So when you look at people, you can know exactly, just like when you look outside, you know it's day. You can look at people and you just know that they're lying. It's not something that this mental understanding can explain logically. Yes, I can rationalize by looking at his facial features, his eyes, the way he expresses himself, the way he's just chittering, the lack of by looking into his eyes and other things may give you what you call logical indicator, but it comes down just to your inner knowing, your tuition. That guy's lying. He's not telling the truth. Just for you, it's so obvious. It's just a second nature. It's just like looking outside, you know it's daytime. By looking at someone, you know if they're lying or not. It's that obvious. But for a lot of people, that's not obvious. And you think this is normal characteristic, something everybody can do. It took me a very long time that to be able to look at people and to tell if they're lying or not is not a normal thing. No, not everybody can possess that ability. So everybody is born with different skill sets. We would call talents and weaknesses. Those skill sets or the talents, the weaknesses depends on the soul purpose of each person. To understand that, we have to look at each person's soul contract or soul plan, which I recently shared in the past, Soul Contract Decoded, where you can, our name, this is numerology. Our name is given by our soul, not by our parents or grandparents or other people. And that name have a certain vibration, certain frequency. They give us a certain characteristic, certain skill set, what you can call your talents and your weaknesses. You can either self-analyze and figure it out yourself, or you can use the soul plan to know more about yourself at a deeper level. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? That can be clearly seen in your soul contract or soul plan. As I said earlier, to see through people whether they're lying or not, that is a talent. That can be seen in your code in your contract. That can be seen as gift of insight or emotional intelligence. You can combine those two. Gift of insight, you can see through people, through scenario, through situation. You see the bigger picture of things. That is a talent that can be seen in your soul contract. Emotional intelligence, you can see people to know where they're lying. You can feel the pain and suffering. You can read people easier with those talents. Or you can be like with weaknesses like unfocused, scattered mind. That is a weakness. And you can easily see that in people where they cannot concentrate, they cannot focus, they cannot keep on track, they can do things halfway and jump through all over the thing. They have no goal plan. That's because they're not just because they're muddle-headed or unfocused. That is their weakness. When they overcome that weakness, they achieve a certain different characteristic or talent, which is highly focused. So those things you can see in a soul plan, or you can, if you become more conscious and aware and awake and be an awakened soul, be in an observer perspective, you can easily see that in people without having to look at the soul contract or soul plan. You can look at people to see their consciousness aware level, their consciousness level, their awareness level, their ability. You can see a lot of things about people just by looking at them. Without the need to look at the soul contract or soul plan, just by becoming the observer. And that becoming an observer through experience of observing yourself, to know your thought, your emotion, your state of mind, all that things, be observing yourself, now you observe other people. So when you observe yourself long enough, then you observe other people, you have a comparison to see what's different between me and them. What am I experiencing, knowing, is that an average thing? So by just spending a lot of time observing yourself, understanding yourself, then you have something to compare with other people, to know more about yourself, whether that's normal or abnormal, according to society standard. And to be able to observe yourself and observe other people, that is a different thing. I guess we call it spirituality, the observer perspective. When you become what's called awakened soul, a conscious soul is a soul that able to step into the observer perspective. And traditionally, you've been able to do that through meditation, yoga, different practices help you to calm the mind, to observe slowly, thoughts running through your mind, the emotion. But some people are just born into the observer perspective, and which is for them, that's just a normal thing. They are not caught up into the emotional reaction of being automatic reaction to society, to things around you, to the emotional body, to a mental body, just automatic reaction, being like autonomous, like a robot, without having conscious control of yourself. When you become observer, you have the conscious option of how you want to react to your environment. How do you want to respond? You can think and respond, or just respond automatically. Those that respond automatically are those that have not awakened yet. They have not stepped into that awareness of the observer perspective, or they're not in spirituality. You don't have awakened yet. You're still asleep. Asleep is being dictated by the mental mind, the ego, the environment. So to understand yourself is to be able to observe, and to observe, you have to be conscious enough, aware enough of everything. And that is a process of we call spiritual evolution, or just evolution by itself, to get to that stage where your consciousness awareness is high enough to allow you to step into that awareness, observer perspective, which I have shared a lot of times in the past. And to get to that level require, for some people, it's natural because it's just the basic attribute that they have worked a lot in the past to get to that point. Or you have to go through certain training, to meditation, to yoga practice, different practices in spirituality, or what you want to call it, to get to that stage of awareness. So that's where, how does catch plasma science and technology come into play? Dance technology helps speed up that process to step into the awareness, the observer perspective that I shared before. And you can find more information about that to my own personal journey, to my perspective, to the kfvietnamese.space website to get some more information about it. But basically, catch plasma science and technology help people by calming the mind, the body down, so you able to be more focused, to be able to be more in control of yourself, and not be less prone to being dictated by the environment. But that is a process that takes time to get a hang of. Just like riding a bicycle, you're going to fall down several times before you become mastery. To become mastery of yourself, a self-mastery, to be in charge of control of how you respond takes time. At first, you might not recognize your automatic reaction. You might not recognize all the limiting thought patterns. But once your awareness and consciousness expand, it comes into your direct cognition. You now become aware of, this is my thought that's limiting me. That is how I react automatically. You're watching yourself respond automatically and reacting, then you become frustrated because that's not how you want to react. That's not how you want to respond. But at least by now, you're consciously aware of that. A lot of people, when they have not gotten to that stage of the observer perspective, they're not consciously aware of how they're being triggered by everything around them. So by getting to the point of the observer perspective, you're able to see yourself, analyze yourself, and through that practice and through that journey of exploration, trial and error, then you're able to compare yourself, other people. You become master of yourself through experience. Okay, when I'm triggered, I'm aware. Next time, I'll do better. Because when you begin, people don't realize that when they start judging themselves, saying, I'm no good, I'm stupid, why did I do that? You go down the spiral. You get into that negativity. So when you let go of all that judgment and forgive yourself, love yourself, accept yourself for where you are right now, for who you are, and accept everything as an experience, then your perspective shifts from being negative to positive. Then you look at a learning experience. Okay, good job. You did not achieve what you want this time, but next time you do better. You might achieve 25% of the way. Next time you might achieve 50% of the way. And after umpteen times of practicing and going to a different scenario in your life, and I'm finally I can respond according to my will, according to my intention, instead of being triggered and respond automatically and get caught into the situation at that moment of time. So that isn't a practice. So to know yourself is to know others. To know others is to know yourself. And that requires experience and observation and get into that observer perspective. And CAS plasma science and technology able to help to that part is to get people to that part. In the beginning, people may not be aware, especially when people are just awoken or not even yet awoken yet, woken up yet, and being led by the soul to encounter CAS plasma science to help them within that process where to that for whatever reason, whether they go to CAS Foundation for health reason, for free energy, or for whatever, then through that exploration, through that journey, your mind becomes expanded. Then you're able to realize and understand and know more things, and you're able to see things at a deeper level. And that is just the initiation. Just by making nanomaterial, making GANs, your mind begins to expand. You begin to experience different things. Your perception changes. Your consciousness begins to expand. And you realize, understand more things. You start building the foundation to understand higher level of teachings of concept like soul teachings. You cannot understand soul teachings if you're still physical. You still don't understand a lot of things when your mind is too closed, when you're not stepped into the observer perspective yet. So GANs technology at the fundamental level build a foundation for you to step into the observer perspective and for you to understand at the deeper level the soul teachings. Is required in phases. Those that are already awakened and unaware and understand things, they don't need to make GANs or nanomaterial, even though it's not required. It helps greatly in the journey if they're willing to make GANs and nanomaterial. It will expedite the process of understanding, but it's not a necessity. Depends on the level of understanding, the consciousness level, and the experience. Those that are woken up for a long time, they don't need the initial phase. They can just probably pick up like that, realize they help connect the dots easier and expand their mind faster. But those that were just first woken up are just still fuzzy, muddle-headed, unfocused, scattered. They're not able to piece everything together. Then you can do the soul teaching to know more about yourself and other people. But it helps greatly if you take the initial phase of engaging in GANs technology of CO2 and zinc to help balance your mind, the physicality, and expand your consciousness slowly so you can download, integrate, embody those things. Is a process that takes time to mature. Maturity of the physicality and the soul takes time. And for those that are just brand new, it takes some time, and that requires experiential knowing through the engagement with the GANs technology. It's not something you sit there and you analyze from a rational mind. You can understand things. That takes a long time. By jumping heads right in, hands-on, it will expedite the process greatly. So that's why I shared the other video, ways to understand CAS plasma science. You can look at that video to understand more, but in this video, to help know yourself, know other people, is to able to observe, and to able to observe to get to the perspective. GANs technology helps by explaining your mind slowly, depending on your intention. If your intention to go CAS Foundation, to use the technology for personal gain, to make a profit, to take advantage of other people, then your consciousness becomes contracting, it's not expanding. If your intention go there to enlighten yourself, to use that to help society, then your intention will gradually open your consciousness and awareness up to greater understanding, and you expedite that process of self-awareness and that observer perspective and that understanding. Your mind expand at an exponential rate. It all depends on your intention initially. Why did you come into CAS Foundation? What is your purpose for making those GANs? If your intention is pure and for the greater good of society and humanity, then you're going to have an easier expansion. If your desire is to use that technology for personal gain, then your consciousness will be contracting, not expanding. and you'll be staying in one spot for a very long time. Your change will be very slow at minimum. If you're able to look at those people around, if you engage with, if you join Cash Foundation and engage with dance technology, you can compare yourself and your friends and those that engage at the same time. How have I changed from the first time I know technology? You can look at from 3 months, 6 months, a year, and look back. How have I changed? How have all those persons who encounter technology at the same time as me, how have they changed? We can look at them to know ourselves, how much they have changed from their perspective, their state of mind. If we can do that compared to ourselves and compare our state of mind as perspective to what we were initially, the change is very subtle, something you have to analyze and be honest with yourself to know yourself, to know other people, is to be honest with yourself in your assessment, not to fool yourself with false idea, false perception, and false understanding. To fully understand yourself is to be honest with yourself first before you can be honest with other people. To fully understand who you are and to assess yourself, you have to be honest with yourself. When you be honest with yourself, you accept, you acknowledge, and you adapt and you expand. Denial will cause contraction and expansion of consciousness. So that what I can share with people, just my own experience, my understanding through the process of when I joined. I stated a lot of times, I was not there for free energy. I was not there for personal health. I was looking for the nature of my existence. Why am I here? And to that understanding, to that reason, not just to catch plasma science and technology, but to my experience from other things and to get the answer to experience firsthand, give me a clearer understanding of things. Because initially we might be a little muddle-headed, a little bit, we've been just like confused, emotionally all over the place, unclear, unfocused, uncentered. We just might be blindly doing things, but as time passes, as our soul mature and expand, we able to get a better picture. Nobody will have a clearer picture from day one. You might be unclear, unfocused, and you have no clue why you're here. Just know you have something that you have to try, some experience, but to that journey of exploration and experimentation, that's where we grow, we learn, and we mature. To that maturity of the mind, the soul, the body, that's where our consciousness expands, then begin to reach for knowledge that was out of our perception later on. What we're able to perceive depends on our, you can say, McGrath field. So when our energy field, our McGrath field expand, our consciousness expand, then we're able to have a bigger radius of knowledge that we can tap into. So when we are open-minded, open heart, our field expand out. When we are in fear, in anger, in hatred, our field contract. So our limit, our vision, our awareness is limited. So when we open our heart to unconditional loving and sharing, we expand our mind, our consciousness, our heart, then we're able to receive a lot more. We perceive a lot more. We understand a lot more. We're not limited in mind and thought and understanding. We're not limited by the mental ego mind. We are able to step into the heart and soul awareness. And that is the journey. And I wish everyone great luck in that journey and exploration. Thank you.